You're listening to She's the Business podcast.
If you've ever asked your audience, why didn't you buy this offer when you've had something for sale, a launch, maybe getting some feedback from them as to why they didn't buy, I guarantee that the two reasons that they said were, I can't afford it, or it's not the right time, or I don't have time. So those would be the most common reasons. However, there are actually a whole myriad of other reasons that they may not even know themselves that's causing them not to buy. And the reason why they say it's they can't afford it, even when they have money and they could afford it, they're choosing not to spend the money on it, is that they just don't even realize that these other things are at play. So they're choosing what feels like the most truthful answer. But today, in this episode, I'm going to share with you what I've discovered over the years and years and years of selling products, selling courses, programs, coaching programs, really what is actually behind that no answer often, so that you can shift these things in your business and increase your sales. Yay. So stay tuned. It's coming right up.
Hi, I'm your host, Jessica Osborne, and over the last 25 years in marketing and business, I've helped many brands to launch, scale, and grow, with some of them becoming multi-billion-dollar companies. I'm here to inspire you to get out of your own way and create a profitable, fulfilling business while living the lifestyle you really desire, without all the hustle. So I bring you She's the Business podcast, a unique blend of strategies, tactics, mindset, health, and spirituality, literally everything you need to be the successful leader of your dream business. Made by women, for women, this is your weekly dose of motivation and inspiration.
Alrighty, so it is just you and I here today, no guests, and I wanted to have a conversation with you about the question that so many people are asking right now, which is, why are my offers not selling? Now, I've just literally today got back from a business retreat over in the US, where there were people there from all different parts of the world, so all over the world, similar type of business, an online business. They're online experts doing services, coaching, consulting, that type of thing. So very similar to my business and probably similar to yours if you've been listening to this podcast for a while. And what I found really interesting is that there are some people who have been experiencing a huge shakeup in 2025. Like, their sales have been dropping. They don't know why. There's a whole lot of stuff going on for them. But for every person that's been experiencing this drop in results or this change and shift, there's someone else who's been experiencing incredible growth. And that's interesting, isn't it? Because it's so easy to look at the world around us and to think, there's stuff going on, people aren't buying, and to kind of lean into all the fear that is present around the world, because there's been so many big events and, really emotionally charged types of things when we're talking about war and the impact that that's having, obviously, on certain nations and anyone who's really involved with it from whatever place you're from. If you have some level of involvement, it does feel very personal, even if it's not in your backyard. And so that's really curious, isn't it? That while some people have been experiencing a decline, others are experiencing growth and increase. So that brings me back to, well, why is it that people aren't buying? And as somebody who loves to dive into this, it's definitely a problem I love to help my clients solve all the time, is let's look beyond the most obvious reasons, or the reasons that your audience are telling you. Because if you are asking, I'm sure that the top reasons you're hearing, it's not the right time, or I don't have time, and I can't afford it. It's too much, whatever. They are the main reasons that you're going to hear if you ask your audience. And what I'm going to share with you today are the top 4 reasons that are very present, very real, very common, that they wouldn't even know themselves to be able to tell you that's why they didn't buy. So this is something for you to have a listen to, have a think about, and really get to know your audience and your offer and look for the signs and clues as to whether any of these are actually going on for you. Because if they are, then that is the reason why maybe you're one of the ones experiencing that decrease in 2025. So the first reason is what I call a mismatch between the offer and audience. So this means that you have an audience and maybe you know them very well, and you have an offer that you've created, but in the creation of it, there wasn't a strong alignment happening between it. So this tends to happen when you've created your offer from a place of looking externally at what all your competitors are doing and either creating something similar of your own, with your own flavor to it, or even just asking, well, what is it that's going to sell, and creating something you think that your audience is going to buy. Now, I know you think, well, isn't that the whole point, right? We want the audience to buy the offer. Yes, we do want the audience to buy the offer, absolutely. But there is a much deeper layer that we're getting to. Clearly, your offer is something your audience is going to want to buy, but there can still be a lack of alignment. So let me explain an example for you here, because I have many examples, but one of them springs to mind. And this was a client who had a service offering. She was very skilled, a lot of expertise, knew what she was doing, and she had decided that she would speak to an audience of people who were kind of new into their business world, new into the space, because she thought that they were the ones who needed it most. But the offer that she was then providing them was actually far too well developed, far too complex for someone at the very beginning of their business journey. And so when I pointed that out to her and we kind of worked together on it, I was like, they're not buying because they're not at that point yet. They're not actually ready for what it is that you're doing. Even though it could help them, they're just not in the right place. They need something far more basic. And, if you want to, you could create that low-level offer for them, really ready and the right thing for the beginner at that point in time. And so with this new insight, she created and adjusted not only her offer, but she actually adjusted who her audience was. She realized, I've been targeting the wrong audience, because she didn't want to take away a lot of this strategic expertise. What her true value was something that was really at that next level. It was for a business that was already established, that was really ready to move in their branding area. And well, once she realigned them, the sales just happened organically and easily. And interestingly, the new offer was at a much higher price, sold far more easily, simply because there was this absolute alignment in the audience that she was speaking to, who she actually wanted to serve, and the offer that she was providing. And that when they are aligned, there is that synergy there, there's the congruence there, and the sales happen really, really easily. So that's reason number one. The second reason is that your ideal client, when they're getting to this point of sale, when they're getting to the moment of making a decision, they may still be stuck on the fence with a lack of confidence in themselves that they can even do this, right? And this can be one of the most frustrating things to happen for a coach, because you might be like, you're exactly right for this. I know how much this is going to help you. And yet here's this person stuck on the fence going, oh, I don't know if I can do it. And isn't that interesting? Even though they want it, they still say no, because part of what you've been speaking to them about and what's in your content, what's in your sales system, it has missed addressing that need for them to actually believe that they can do it. They might look around and say, yeah, this looks great. And oh my goodness, it obviously works for other people. They see that it can work. They don't doubt in that, but they doubt themselves, right? So that's super important. They have to believe they can do it themselves, or they're not going to say yes. Okay, moving along, the third reason is what I call a lack of connection. You could also call it lack of resonance. And this is actually resonance between you and them. So they may be the right person for the offer. They may also be, think this is exactly what I need. And if they're believing in themselves, you think, well, why aren't they saying yes? It could be actually that there's something that's holding them back because they're not sure you're the right one for them. Now, you might say, well, what can I do about that? Obviously, you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Absolutely. We're not talking about the ones who aren't for you, who aren't right for you. But what is happening, what I see happening a lot, and it's increasing quickly in the world out there, is that the more people are using AI in their marketing, the less authenticity is coming through. And there is a rise in people basically with their fear radar on, their fake radar, like looking out for people who aren't maybe fully trustworthy, people who they're like, is this for real? Is this the real deal? Or is there an element of, I don't know? And if they don't know, then they're saying no, right? Because you say yes when you're confident. You say yes when you have trust. In order for someone to have trust, the authenticity has to be there. Like, authenticity is something that builds the trust. Now, I've got a whole conversation to have around authenticity, and I think that will be in the next episode that I do, the next solo episode. So have a look out for that, because let's have a discussion, a real discussion and a chat about using AI in your marketing, how to use it and not lose your authenticity, because there are so many great ways that you can use it, and there are so many ways people are using it that really I think they need to be far more wary of, because the minute that you're putting out content you haven't created that is not authentically you, your people know it, they feel it, and they're stepping back, because there's a real lack of human connection felt, and they may not even be able to describe that to you. They're just going to say, yeah, there's something's off. I don't know. It sounds good, but there is a hesitation there, and they probably cannot describe it, because most people aren't really in tune with the energy that they feel, the connection that they feel when someone is standing there. They're like, this is the person, I love what they're saying, I really resonate with them, and I want them to be my guide. So that isn't happening, right? And it's something that I'm seeing increasing in the online space, just as I see more and more and more, obviously, AI generated content out there, sales pitches, DMs, emails, the lot. Like, it is insane how much it is. People are just using it directly out of AI and not adapting it themselves. So anyway, let's have a whole conversation about that in the next episode. But that is a big reason why people are not saying yes. Then we've got the fourth reason, and you may be surprised at this one, because this is one to have a look at yourself. And trust me, it's surprising how often when I ask this question, people sit there for a moment and think, yeah, that is right. That's what's going on. So it is when you yourself don't fully 100% love your offer. There's something about it that either you don't love, you would rather not do or avoid. Maybe even you don't like the price. Maybe you're undercharging and you've got some resentment about it. Maybe you're overcharging and that gives you, nerves, because then you think, well, I've got to now live up to that price and try to justify it in some way. There could be many things that could be causing you not to be 100% in love with your offer. Maybe you've promised too many things. You've got to deliver so much. It's making you compromise on your life, on other stuff that you want to do in your, with your family or for yourself. Maybe you're like, well, I'm not getting to go to the gym anymore and I really love it. And it's because I'm doing all these things that I promised in order just to sell the offer. So there is a difference. Sometimes you're doing the things because that is really what you want to do, and there's absolute alignment and reason in doing it. But if you're just doing it to justify a price, ask yourself this question. See where you might find if your offer isn't selling, or at least not to the level you expect, is there any part of it you don't love, that you're not in love with? Because if you don't love it, like, just think about it for a minute. You're going into a sales environment, whether you're doing selling through your email, whether you're doing, one-to-one calls, discovery calls, whether you're getting on a webinar or whatever your mechanism is to bring clients in. If you don't love it, they feel that. And that is repelling, right? You don't love it. So why would you be recommending it to someone? It would be like going, yeah, there's this restaurant down the road, but I don't really like it, but you should go there, go and eat there. It'd be amazing for you. I just don't love it. I don't know how many people would actually go there, right? You're not going to go to a restaurant that someone has told you about if they don't love it. So, well, not very likely. I know that you could probably think of a scenario where maybe that could be true, but it's very unlikely. So if you're turning up to your sales discussions and that's what's happening for you, just consider for a moment the invisible impact that's having on the other person. Pretty amazing, isn't it? So yes, you have to be in love with it. You've got to be like, gosh, this is so good that they would be absolutely crazy not to say yes. And, full detachment, because you can't make someone say yes or no. We never want to. We're not here to convince anyone. You're here to make an invitation and hope that they say yes. But, that's up to them. So if you don't love it, then we're kind of already starting off a step back, a step removed, like you're pulling away from it. And that is something that the other person is going to find really hard to step forward to, because you're not there matching that enthusiasm, right? So there you go. There are my top 4 hidden reasons why people are saying no and could be saying no. So I'm really keen to hear from you as to, do you think any of these are showing up for you in your business right now? And if they are, which one? So jump onto Instagram if you're there, send me a DM. If you're on LinkedIn, I'm also there. Love to connect, hang out. So get in touch. Let me know what you think, and I'd love to hear from you. Now, remember, as I mentioned just before, my next episode, I'm going to talk about AI. So if you want to listen in to that discussion and learn more about how you can use AI really smartly to help with your marketing without removing your authenticity, then this is going to be the episode to listen into. So I'm going to share with you some of the best ways that I am seeing, I am doing, and seeing others do as well using AI that is improving the customer experience, saving them time, and also improving their marketing to a better degree, but not removing your authentic presence, that energy that you just simply cannot replace with AI because it's not human. So tune in, make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss it. Hit subscribe on this episode. Make sure you're following the podcast, and that will drop in for you in the next episode. So I'll see you then. Bye.